as a support leader, what kind of challenges were you seeing when you started looking out for an agentic AI product?
We essentially get multiple amount of volumes in a span of, let's say, 1 week, probably 3x, 4x the volumes we get in a week compared to, let's say, in the rest of the month. It can't be just solved by onboarding more folks because what would they do for the rest of the month?
So approximately how many queries do you get every month?
We get around 140 or 1,000 email queries, specifically only email queries a month.
So 150,000 emails every month, which are being automated now.
Yes.
Venkat, would love to know a little bit about what was your journey of working with Emma and what's the impact that you eventually saw on your business metrics?
So I think initially when we started off with Emma out of the box OpenAI solution, it was around 40 to 50% accurate responses.
You mean the accuracy?
Yeah, accurate responses. So with few additions in terms of rebuilding the model, we were able to achieve nearly 98% accurate responses. Now we are fairly confident that every response that goes from Emma is in effect going to be 98% accurate, which is somewhat similar to what an actual agent will also have.
Hi, my name is Shubhi and I am a product manager at Emma. With me is Venkat. Venkat is the head of customer support at Moneyview. Venkat has been one of our earliest customers and cheerleaders, and we are very excited to talk to him today. Hi Venkat, please tell us a little bit more about Moneyview, like what kind of business are you in, what scale do you manage, etc.
So Moneyview is one of the biggest fintechs in India. We have a customer base of about 60 to 70 million odd users. We are sort of a fintech that innovates. We believe in innovation. That's about it, Moneyview. I mean, you can just Google Moneyview basically.
Yeah. And what kind of products does Moneyview offer?
We've started with lending. So lending is one of our core businesses with personal loans up to 10 lakhs. That's what we offer. But we've now branched out into different products, which you'll see on the app, including HL, LAP, and then gold, digital gold, etc. as well.
Awesome.
And many more products hopefully to come.
Wow, that's great. So Venkat, let's start by talking a little bit about support at Moneyview, right? So as a support leader, what kind of challenges were you seeing when you started looking out for an agentic AI product?
So the problem, I think, is essentially the same with all BFSIs, is what I'm assuming. We have a problem which is cyclical every month. We essentially get multiple amount of volumes in a span of, let's say, 1 week, which covers the span of the entire month. So probably 3x, 4x the volumes we get in a week compared to what we get, let's say, in the rest of the month.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a problem, as I said, which is cyclical, which happens every month. It can't be just solved by onboarding more folks.
Right.
Because what would they do for the rest of the month? So that's where, in a sense, we wanted to automate stuff to an extent. We managed to do it. I would not call it automation, quote unquote. What we do is fairly manual, but it still solves, or it did solve the purpose at that time of what we were trying to do in terms of answering all of these customer queries in a very short span of time.
Right.
So what we did was to bunch up those queries in, let's say, a certain query type where somebody recognizes that these are the queries that are there, and then essentially answer those queries in one go.
Got it. So approximately how many queries do you get every month?
We get around 140 or 1,000 email queries, specifically only email queries a month. There are obviously other channels as well, but yeah, email specifically we get, yeah.
So 150,000 emails every month, which are being automated now.
Yes.
Got it. That's great. So you started, like you said, you started with basic categorization, trying to bucket your tickets, use some basic like custom attribute based automation. And then you started looking at agentic AI products to automate more and more, right? So tell us a little bit about your vendor selection process. What were you looking for in a vendor? Why did you end up choosing Emma?
So that's actually a very good question. So we started looking out for generic, agentic AI fairly early on. I think it was in Jan of 2023 when we started, because this problem we've been having it since our inception, to be honest. So we wanted some solutioning for it. And none of the Gen AI solutions at that time, or even now, I'm not sure, could handle the use case specifically that we were looking for. So my vision was very simple. I wanted essentially to remove the middleman. All the solutions that we had, or we still probably have, help the agent in some sort of way. So it's an agent assist, but not a agent replacement in terms of.
Not like autonomous resolution.
Yes. So yeah. So it still doesn't solve the purpose, because what would I do with essentially a response which again has to be sent by a human? I would prefer a response directly to go to the customer if I have confidence in that specific response.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I remember you were talking to us and you told us that, you wanted to completely autonomously resolve queries instead of having solutions like Agent Assist and then, them further responding to queries. What was it about Emma that you liked when you were evaluating vendors?
So none of them actually said yes to what I was looking for, to be honest, apart from Emma.
Okay.
So at least they are the ones, or you were the ones who said, okay, yes, this is something that we can at least try attempting to do.
Right. And this was way back in January 2023.
Probably in July of 2023, yeah, because we were evaluating and then, yeah.
Got it. That's great. Let's talk a little bit about the complexity, right? So for context, like we have worked together on this product and I've been a part of the journey as well. And it's a very interesting use case, right? So one is the domain specificity of Fintech itself, right? It's very hard for anyone outside the domain to understand like various terms like foreclosure or disbursal, etc. And then there's also the complexity of volume and the way people ask for these queries. So these are Indian customers, they are multilingual. They use a combination of Hindi, English, multiple languages. So can you tell us a little bit about the complexity of the use case and like the key technical challenges?
So as you said, essentially customers can ask the questions in any way that they want. The challenges specifically in terms of PFSI in general is that we are regulated. So we have to adhere to certain guidelines in terms of the responses that we can and we cannot send.
Yeah. So the accuracy of the responses matters a lot, right? You can never...
So more so than, let's say, for example, e-commerce, where they're not necessarily penalized in a sense. They can just say sorry and then move on.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, it's fairly complex in terms of something that we commit incorrectly, then we are sort of bound to adhere to that specific commitment.
Right.
Which is where we wanted to look at some tool that could send the responses, but we have confidence in those responses as well.
Exactly.
And not send incorrect responses.
Yeah. So accuracy was paramount. Cost of sending incorrect responses was huge.
Yes.
What you really wanted was basically a tool which was grounded in your business data and always adhering to your policies and guidelines, essentially.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Got it. Great. So let's talk a little bit about implementation. What was your experience like, working with Emma team? Any comments?
So as I said, Emma were the only folks to say yes to what I wanted to do. In terms of implementation, there were certain hiccups are not denied. I think that is true for this space in general, because it's
new and evolving space.
And then there are things that we learned together as well, which sort of helped. But the end goal was achieved is what I would say. So irrespective of whatever happened in between, what we wanted to achieve in terms of the responses being sent and then how to evolve, let's say, this or specific models that are currently there which are not capable, I would say, to respond to the way that we wanted to respond, and then we custom built those specific modules, which took longer than probably expected. But then we finally got there, which is what is important, to be honest, because there are stuff, and I mean, the fear probably everyone had or would have in this space, because it's very new, that would it fail?
Right.
So because it's very easy for such models to fail.
Yeah.
Whereas this is live on production, so which is where I would say the implementation was fairly above average.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Thanks for that. And in terms of like what is some advice that you will give to other support leaders, right, who are looking to try similar generative AI products, but maybe there's some fear around accuracy. So you were able to deploy something which is almost 100% accurate in production. So what would be your advice to them?
So, I mean, I think the way that AI is looked at is people assume that, okay, it'll know everything, which it might, I'm not sure. But what I would say is basically fragment the ideas, or rather the queries that you have, and then look at those specific queries, and then look at solutioning for them. So for us, I mean, if anyone is from Fintech, they would understand foreclosure, for example, is a very black and white sort of a thing, where it is a yes and a no.
Right.
So here, essentially, the way that we look at the query, or initially the way that the model looked at the query, is from a holistic standpoint, where it did not look at foreclosure specifically. It was trying to gauge what the customer might think and then sort of reply to the customer's query, which in a sense was creating a lot of noise.
Yeah.
So what I would say is identify the query. If it is a yes and no query, then it becomes very simple. You just have to interpret the customer's intent,
Right.
and then follow certain rules that you can code in the backend to answer that specific query.
Right.
So that's the way to go about it, instead of looking at it from a very big holistic model.
Basically, instead of throwing everything at a single LLM, trying to do it one shot, it's better to use a more agentic approach and start picking with the slightly more simpler use cases and then iterate.
Yes. And then, I mean, there are use cases, and this because this is not specific to Fintech. This is the same for, let's say, e-commerce, which I've worked with as well. So there is a yes and no there as well. So like, for example, return policy. It's a very clear-cut yes and no of a 7-day return or a 10-day return or whatever. So here it becomes very easy when a customer says, okay, I want to return something. If they don't follow that specific rule, then you can just deny the return or accept the return. And here I don't think that essentially people have thought out this specific or like use cases like these and say with LLM that this will work.
Right.
Because they're using it wrong, is what I feel.
Right. Let's talk about impact a little bit. So what would you say has been the impact of, like last 6 months of work? So your 150,000 tickets that you get every month, what percentage of tickets are we automating end to end?
So I think right now we are taking it in stages. Essentially, as I said, we're looking at specific queries, and then depending on the accuracy and how confident we are to send those responses to the end user, that's what we're looking at. So we're right now at 50% is what I believe in terms of sending responses directly to users. So this means that essentially we have taken out the human element altogether in the first response.
For 50% of the...
Yeah. And then hopefully we are trying to achieve somewhere around 80% of complete automation of email responses by the end of the year. Yes. Yeah.
It's pretty good. 150,000 tickets and 80% automation by the end of the year.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's pretty good. And in terms of some other like softer benefits like first response time and just in general the quality of responses, CSAT, what are some things that you're seeing?
Essentially, yeah. So, I mean, obviously the one benefit that we have is the response times will significantly reduce it. It'll almost be instantaneous. In fact, I think we were discussing of reducing or increasing the response time because it's too fast.
That's an interesting problem.
Because customers don't expect email or certain replies to instantaneously get to them, like in like 5 seconds. Generally, people wait for an hour or so to receive a reply from an email. So, so that's the kind of discussion that we are having right now in terms of email responses, and obviously the quality of responses and how contextual the responses are as well. So that's something that matters to us. In some cases, it outperforms the agent as well, because it becomes difficult for an agent to, let's say, put certain things from, let's say, different tools in a response and then send it. Whereas with Emma, it's automated, so we can just plug those variables in while sending the response.
Right.
So all of these have like really improved, I would say, the quality of responses that go to the customer.
Right. And what kind of impact do you see on CSAT due to these?
For CSAT, basically, we've not looked at it specifically from an agentic AI perspective, but yeah, we would expect to see probably an increase. Our current CSAT is around 60% for emails. So we definitely want it to be around 70-75%, which is what we are hopeful of seeing as well. In terms of how fast the responses are, because that also matters to the end user.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So Venkat, before this, we were talking a little bit about how you see the role of support teams evolving, not just being a cost center. So I would love to hear your vision on that and how you foresee Emma supporting your growth in that direction.
Traditionally, all support centers have been sort of clubbed into, like, let's say, a cost center or a cost sort of source, and people have been figuring out how to sort of reduce cost. What we want to do is give experience to users by not increasing the number of human agents that we have. So in terms of cost, the way that I look at it is only the queries that are not solvable by, let's say, a general human being, which would need exceptionally skilled human to sort of resolve a specific query. That is a query that should go to a human, and the rest should be answered by a bot.
Yeah.
Which is essentially, I would say, 95% of the entire query set that any company would have, in effect. Yeah. Because only 5% of the queries in general are those that require something extra to be done, like exceptional waivers to be taken, or something that is out of the box or out of the norm that has to be done. So that's the way that I'm looking at it. So I would say, okay, if we grow like 10x, then I don't want the contact center to grow 10x as well. Yeah. I would rather have an inverse variable here where it sort of goes down and we have increased 10x.
Yeah. Where contact center itself is generating profit and revenue.
Yes. So to come to that, right now, the way that we are looking at general traditional contact center is looked at is just support.
Right.
But you move from that model to, let's say, the customers who are coming to you, and then you have products that the customers probably might not be aware of,
right,
where they can sort of go and onboard those products for. So that's something that we are looking at as well.
Right. So sort of cross-selling via bots and automation. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So cross-sell via, traditional methods for now, and then eventually probably through a bot or
AI employee.
Yes, through an AI employee.
What's next? What is the plan of Moneyview with Emma next year?
For us, we are fairly excited. So we are pro AI, to be honest. So we don't have that fear of AI being bad or evil. We want to use AI to help us grow, grow in terms of business and not in terms of actual people.
Right.
So that's in a sense what we're looking at. So we want to explore further avenues in terms of, as I said, bot is something, cross-sell is something that we are very closely looking at. How to improve funnels is again something that we are looking at. Voice again is something that we are looking at as well, to automate or answer calls, which obviously after evaluation is the next step. For our use case specifically, and then probably most of India's use case as well, because it's vernacular, voice is what customers prefer generally, rather than bots.
Right.
So that's something that people would prefer calling, especially to a banking industry. People prefer calling and speaking to an agent rather than writing or talking to a bot, because they don't have confidence in the bot.
Trust is a very important
Yes.
factor.
So that's why calls is something that everyone has as a channel as well, and that's something that again we would be looking at. Yes.
So speaking of trust, you are a fintech company, you are regulated. So I would love to know more about your experience in working with Emma from a security point of view. Like, how was Emma able to meet your security requirements?
So yeah, I mean, obviously we had Emma vetted for all the governance and certificates, so which was sort of fairly easy for us. In terms of data sharing, there are certain restrictions that we inherently have, like all fintechs inherently have. But we were able to bypass it fairly easily, is what I felt, because Emma does not need that much data in terms of customers' crucial data. Right. What we pass is essentially just fragments of data which is masked, if there is any data to be passed on. So where I don't see it as a biggish of a challenge in any way for any fintech for that matter.
Venkat, would love to know a little bit about what was your journey of working with Emma and what's the impact that you eventually saw on your business metrics?
Yeah. So I think initially when we started off with Emma out of the box OpenAI solution, it was around 40 to 50% accurate responses.
You mean the accuracy?
Yeah, accurate responses, which we felt, to be honest, fairly low. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to change it, because 40 to 50% accurate responses directly to be sent to users was unacceptable, to be honest. So with few additions in terms of rebuilding the model, we were able to achieve nearly 98% accurate responses, looking at specific categories and then subcategories. So now we are fairly confident that every response that goes from Emma is in effect going to be 98% accurate, which is somewhat similar to what an actual agent will also have.
Can you add some numbers in terms of coverage, like what percentage of?
So basically, we are at around 80% of overall coverage with Emma right now. So 80% out of 150,000 odd tickets that are getting covered, with a CSAT of around 70 or 75% as well. So I mean, these are exceptional numbers when you consider emails as a source. If you look at banking industry in general, the average CSAT hovers around 40 to 50%. So the number that we're looking at are like very, very exceptionally great.
Yeah. So I have one last question for you. What was the most surprising thing about working with Emma?
As I said, I mean, in the beginning, I was surprised that somebody could actually think, okay, this was possible, because I don't think anyone is sending automated responses via email to users. So they accepted it, which was the biggest surprise. What was another surprise was when we did the POC initially with Emma, some of the responses that Emma was able to answer was much better than what an agent actually answered to those queries, because we did a A/B comparison. So that is what changed my mind. Okay, AI can actually answer better than what an actual human can do in certain aspects, and then it's just fine tuning of those models, so to speak of. Where I think, I mean, the future should be or would be similar to humans, but much better in terms of answering and then understanding what a human actually does as well. So that's, I mean, those are surprising aspects of it. And this was back when people were just using AI, just as a conversational piece, to just ask queries, I guess, and then surprised by the answer that the AI used to give.
Yeah.
But yeah, contextual responses with fairly decent number of, accuracy as well is what surprised me.
Great. Thank you so much, Venkat. It was lovely talking to you. And thanks for sharing your experience today.
Well, thanks.